Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our golf DFS show. My name is Mike. I'm joined with Kyle and Jordan on Tuesday, May 3rd. Got a great show tonight. We have our Mexico Open recap, the Wells Fargo preview, lots of other good stuff. We'll jump right into it. The weather has kind of turned in the Twin Cities area, which means we can finally get out and play some golf this week. I know, Kyle, you've been in Iowa. You played today before we recorded. And Jordan, I think you're just itching to get out there, aren't you?
Jerks. I played 9 holes Friday, and now it'll be probably at least a month. When you slam your fingers in between 2 large pieces of granite, the granite wins. So I now have a broken index finger and 8 stitches, 4 in each finger.
You look like Evan Scissors hands when you hold that up.
Yeah. You don't seem much like the DIY type, Jordan. What were you doing with slabs of granite?
What are you talking about? I'm super DIY. We've got a built-in in our house that has been plywood for 5 years, and we're like, you know what? It's rainy. It's a yucky day. Let's go to the granite store. We had already found the piece. It was great. Then I proceeded to do this and gush blood all over 5 or 6 other pieces. Luckily, not the one we wanted. And then the bathroom we were at the very back of the warehouse. So the bathroom was 150 feet away. And I dripped blood the entire way into the bathroom. It was the most blood I've ever lost.
So wait, how, can't wrap my head around this. Were they stacked vertically and you were trying to move them and
like records? That's how I imagine you flipping through records in a record store.
Yes.
Except they're hundreds of pounds.
So I was crawling back to see the other side of the piece that we wanted. And as I went past,
crawling?
No, it was, there's 2 rows of the remnants. So remnant, the leftover pieces.
Yeah.
So I was squeezing between them because they're all different sizes because I wanted to see the other side of the one we said we wanted to make sure it was good, because there was a bunch of marks and stuff. And as I walked by it, there was a piece that was a little wobbly. And I was like, oh, I should avoid that on the way back. And then as I was walking back out, I must have bumped it and it moved, and instinct, right? Grab it, catch something that's falling. Well, it's a 200-pound piece of granite. You're not going to catch it with your fingertips. And everything about it was bad. Right, if the next piece would have been shorter, no issue.
Yeah.
Right, and even so, if things fall like this, it's flat. Right, I would have gotten just smushed, but the bottoms were separated, so it fell, and I caught the edge, the sharp edge of a cut piece of quartz, which is how you end up with straight line cuts across your hand, and you see the fat squeezing out of the cut. Yeah.
At least you still have your fingers, I guess.
I know.
Yeah, luckily it was up here, down. I can still squeeze things and do a little bit, but yeah, no golf. Stitches in for 10 days. And then whenever, I was like, oh, when can I play golf again? Whenever it doesn't feel like shit. Thank you. Thank you, urgent care doctor.
I might be able to finally beat Jordan for a little bit.
Well, how is it?
I'm pretty good one-handed with my left hand. We could give it a try.
I said might. It was no guarantee.
Well, Kyle, how was the game today? What shape is it in?
It was pretty good. I hit the ball well. Missed some short putts. A little bit of a different course than I'm used to. Pretty small greens, which little shout out to this week. We got some small greens coming up, and they got the inverse bowl effect going on. So you kind of got to run it up there, which really isn't my game, but. Overall, I was pretty happy.
Finesse.
Yeah,
good.
Is the inverse bowl a mound or dome?
Yeah, but
dome green. I've never.
Yeah, it falls sides a lot, right? It kind of falls off.
Yeah. Yep. That's the course I grew up on. Tiny greens. If you miss it, you have to brutal chips up, and you're probably rolling back down.
Yes.
Well, Jordan, we wish you a speedy recovery. I'm glad to have gotten the story. That sounds traumatic. I assume your kids were there, the whole crew?
The whole crew was there. Luckily, I was on the other side of the things, And Sloan, like, I mean, I didn't, I was like, ah, and I didn't cuss or swear or start crying or anything, luckily. But she got to I ran to the bathroom with the worker to get some paper towels and stuff. And then she got there a little later with my wife and goes, Daddy, are you okay? Just shake it off. That's what we tell her, right? We tell her, oh, shake off your boo-boo. If I would have shook it off, it would have been like blood splatter everywhere.
Oh my God.
She doesn't seem to be traumatized anyway.
All right. Well, let's we could save our listeners the graphic storytelling, but I'm happy to have gotten that because that sounds terrible.
Post the photos in the video on YouTube as we're talking. You flash the stitches and the flap of skin. It'd be great.
No thanks. Okay, so a couple of things in the betting world. First, I wanted to hit on NHL, the NHL playoffs, really quick. Because we haven't talked about it, Kyle. We started when we first launched. We talked a lot about NHL DFS because you and I were kind of getting into it and trying to learn the ropes a little bit and figure out some strategies. It's really interesting playing the entire regular season every single day NHL DFS, and then you get to the playoffs and like all of those things that you banked on night to night are just totally gone. Right? Who plays Montreal, Arizona, Columbus, Ottawa, and load up against them? Well, none of those teams are in the playoffs, and apparently there aren't really matchups to expose.
Yeah, a completely different animal. Night one went well. I don't know about you. I'm off to an okay start tonight, so we'll see how it continues to go. But definitely leaning on a lot of the tools, especially some of the ones we look at for the PGA standpoint. Awesomo's got some pretty good products out there, fantasy data and whatnot. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it was good that we both took St. Louis against our Minnesota Wild just to emotionally give us some comfort after that disaster.
We've seen way too many playoff games where the Wild, they especially last 5-6 years since they made the second round, where this is their MO, right? Outplay a team, have all the chances in the world, just can't finish, and then give up one break the other way, and whoops.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's nice to collect a little bit on that misery. So the other thing, in a similar vein, a couple weeks from now, we got the PGA Championship at Southern Hills, and I know we've been chatting a little bit about some of the odds that we're interested in. Players on the board there. And what do you think, Kyle? Like, where are you seeing maybe some opportunities, some guys at interesting spots? I know we have one in mind that we think is a pretty good one.
Yeah, and since we first talked about it, there has been a little bit of movement, Mike. With Rahm winning last week, he's now up to a plus 1,100. But the one we jumped on 2 weeks back right after the Zurich. I really liked how he played there is Patrick Cantley. You can still get him for plus 2,000. That hasn't moved yet. So we have a sprinkle in there, and I just can't believe a player of his caliber with how good he looked at that event. He is the 11th best odds on the board.
Wow.
Like Brooks Koepka 1,600 over him. Bryson's 1,400. I can't see a world I'm playing betting on either of those over Cantley.
Yeah. Sucker bets.
Pretty much. That's Tiger, even
that's the difference between betting houses and DFS, right? We had this conversation last week. They know people are going to bet that, so they don't need to worry about him being too right. Like versus DFS to be proper.
Tiger is 35-1. Like that's the same as Zalatoris, Lowry, like those guys in that area. Like how can you take Tiger ahead of those guys?
What's while we're on this note, Mike, what's the read on Southern Hills? Do you know much about the course?
I don't, and I was actually trying to do a little bit of research this week, but I'm sure we'll get a little more content out there as we get closer. I do believe that they've taken down quite a few trees, and so the golf course will play a little more wide open. Not that you can just bomb it everywhere, but it's going to play a little more open than it traditionally did, 10, 15 years ago when there was a couple majors there.
I'll be curious too, just looking at the odds, like I see Victor Hovland also plus 2,000. That's got to be an Okie State play, right? Like, of course, at Southern Hills, Okie State, like I'm guessing he's been bet down a little bit from when these first opened. Granted, he's a great player, has 4 wins under his belt in the last 6 months, but that just seems a little steep for him. And also on Jordan's point previously, I will be staying away from Patrick Reed at 35 to 1.
Right.
I would take Tiger Woods at 35 to 1 over Patrick Reed.
Maybe you can find a matchup play, Tiger versus Patrick Reed.
He had 2 good days in this weekend, and then he imploded Saturday, Sunday, right?
One very interesting price point I came across here. I'm scrolling at 80 to 1. Just unique group of golfers here. You have Phil Mickelson on the board. Is he playing?
80 to 1 he even shows up.
Yeah, exactly. You got Matthew Wolff, who's playing him at 80 to 1. Oh. His current form. Sergio, Siwoo, and Billy Horschel. Just interesting.
I did get down there. Billy Horschel kind of feels like I don't know that, like, as an outright, I don't know if he's got enough to win, but like, man, I could see him. He's been playing well this year. At
80 to 1. Like, compared to the rest of those people there, like Siwoo is probably the second best, and you would bet on Horschel 9 out of 10 times versus Siwoo.
Yeah, interesting.
Jordan found his first outright at the PGA.
Yep, Billy Horschel. Put it in, Kyle.
All right. Well, let's check in on beers. What are you guys drinking? And then we'll talk Mexico Open.
Pretty excited. I actually don't have just a local beer I can find here because I made a trip to the cities last week and brought back some brews. So I have Untitled Art Juicy IPA. It's hitting the spot tonight.
That's the alcoholic version, because we drank a lot of Untitled Art in dry January.
Correct. Yeah. So I wanted a real one. It tastes pretty good.
I'm gonna let both of you guys down a lot right now, but
I was gonna ask earlier, are you drinking High Noon?
Today felt like the first day of summer. We were outside a bunch. It was great. What is better than a golf course and a High Noon? Oh,
I don't know. I've
got pineapple. It's delicious. I've got my Nooners koozies. I am ready to go, team.
That's how you say maybe this golfing, by drinking High Noon.
Yep.
I would say maybe this Galactic Falconer is better than that High Noon, but from Junkyard, one of their flagships. But I don't know, Jordan. I know you got a soft spot for the Nooner, so.
My beer fridge is also empty, so it was like Coors Light. I could brought it like a hazy little thing. So I went with the Nooners, and that's speaking of how I'm going to represent while not being able to golf. I already told my men's league team that I'm going to be the caddy. Because I was like, I'm still coming out. It's my Tuesday night. I'm not going to sit in my ass at home and not be out here drinking. So I'm going to go drink and be the caddy out on the golf course. Starts in 2 weeks.
Committed. That's all I have to say. Committed. Well, let's jump into the Mexico Open. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it because I think the word that describes it's just these low-scoring, weak field events are just boring. And even though Rahm wanted to make it interesting, he tried to give up his 3-shot lead a few times, and even like freaked us out a little bit on 18 with a tough recovery shot he had to hit. It's not interesting. And I guess the big storyline was the fact that he was like the biggest, the biggest lock, the biggest outright favorite, the biggest DFS owned player in like the history of PGA DFS, and then he got it done. I don't know. I wasn't super interested. I did check out quite a bit of it on Sunday to catch some of the storylines, but I don't know. Golf course didn't seem hard. Guys weren't challenged.
I actually heard some pretty good feedback about the course, and they thought that, listening to some of our experts and stuff this week, they thought maybe it's an event that's going to garner a little bit more of a field in the future, because it did show well, at least, and they lucked out outside of the one day with some wind. But what was the winning score? 18. So it's definitely
17.
hasn't been. Yeah, it's not like some of the events we saw earlier in the year where guys were 26, 27, 30
Fair.
under. Yeah.
Fair. I do think, obviously, like Puerto Vallarta is certainly an attraction, and maybe it becomes a spot where people want to go and and have a bit of a vacation for their families. Not sure, but it was. I guess it was fine. Rahm is the no laying up guys were saying this, and I agree because I actually like went and told my wife. I was like, oh, I really. His immediate comments after he won were like really like heartwarming. He said like he had a 2-putt from like 25 feet, and he was like, oh, when I was standing over that putt, I said, I just want to 2-putt this, and I want to have my son run out on the green. It's the first time I'm going to win, and he's able to walk, and I want him to run out on the green and scoop him up. And so he did, but then I guess his son got kind of freaked out and just kind of ran to his mom and didn't come out on the green, and so it didn't actually happen. But I was like, God, like Jon Rahm, like I'm not like a huge Rahm fan, but like then he is like really well spoken and says these things, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're actually kind of cool. Family guy, you know. So, anyways, there's another thing. I know I texted you guys on this. In the final round, Rahm hit a ball on 10. 10 was the tee shot was playing pretty tough because it had like OB and junk tight left and then water right. And a lot of these guys were aiming way left and trying to hit these cuts back towards the water. And then a number of them would just overcut it, and they'd end up cutting it in the water. Kurt Kitayama did that on Sunday. But Rahm ends up just hitting like a dead pole. And this ball should have been 20 yards out of bounds, and it smacks a golf cart and bounces like 30 yards right, almost back in the fairway. And it just kills me that these guys get away with, I mean, that was very lucky, but these guys get away with banking it off grandstands and not having to like play the full arena. And it's kind of a bummer that happened to the guy leading the tournament on like one of the toughest driving holes. He got a huge break.
Yeah, I think Kitayama actually bogeyed that hole every day. He went in the water. His drive went in the water 3 times in Sunday, and the other time he did pull it way left and got in trouble as well. But to the thought of banking off stands, hey, the only time I've played in an event like that, I took advantage. We talked about it, so all aboard.
You know the feeling. Fair enough. Fair enough. Awesome. Well, I want to hit on the listener league because we were saying pre-pod, this was one of our most exciting listener leagues of the season. Like literally, you kind of wanted to pay attention to your DraftKings app and see all the moving around. There was like 6 people that had a chance to win all the way on Sunday. And so 90 degree rule, been grinding all season, finally gets it done, gets his first win of the year, never catches a break. and so I know he's feeling good about that. P. Koziak 3 in second, and then Kyle, I thought I could catch you for third until I realized we had the same guy left, and I just knew it was inevitable. So, but good finish.
You know, I'm sad, Mike, that you said only 6 people were in competition on Sunday, because I started the day in first place. I started Sunday in first place, and then I didn't check it until maybe like noon, and I was down almost at I finished third to last. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, it was a tight week, and I only squeezed out third over G. Bentley by 2.5. Like, so I was actually in fourth until Rahm finished because we were.
Oh wow!
2. Yeah, but tight week overall. Yeah. Bounced back and forth a lot. Who brought it home for 90 degree? Finau's great day.
I think so. Sunday. Yeah, he had 63.
And Alex Smalley's T6, that was huge for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
With the only piece of ownership on him.
I'm happy with my I finished outside the money, but I didn't finish in last. And I'm happy when I got back to basics. I picked the players from my player pool that I thought were going to play well versus just random pivots. And, it didn't pay off, but it was a moral win.
So you didn't pick only players from Mexico this time, like you tried to do for RBC?
No, like but if I did, it probably went okay. I would have picked Alvaro Ortiz, and he would play great.
Like that Sebastian Munoz guy, Kyle?
Yeah, him. I actually, for one of the free contests, I did go all Mexico fish just for that reason. It didn't do well.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I'll just wrap this up. We had our best expert of the week was Sundog Monkey. That was his first top spot in the RTG model. All value plays, but they made the cut. A bunch of guys under 7K he had picked made the cut. Interesting, we had 7 of the RTG experts who tweeted this out. 7 of them had all of their plays make the cut. That was the first time we've seen a number that high. And so it was very tight for the top spot in the RTG model, but Sundog Monkey getting the shout out this week. Overall, I think the model had a pretty good week. We were 87% of our players that were 25% mention share or higher made the cut. Obviously, this was a huge cut. There were 78 players that made the cut, but gave us a lot of a good floor then to work with for the weekend. So trending in the right direction as we head towards as we head towards the PGA Championship. I think we're seeing a lot of good things in our approach. Any other comments on Mexico?
Yeah, as you said, Mike, great performance by the sheet overall. There was only really one landmine, and I don't know who is the guy that threw out Tyler Duncan as a play, but
you sold me on him during our pod last week, and I had him in a few lineups, and I was like, I'm not buying this. I don't know, and God, I'm thankful I pulled them out.
He's the only one with substantial mention share that really, took us down and missed the cut. If a lot of people were saying be overweight on John Rahm, he was going to be chalky, but play him anyway. Of course, that panned out. Finau had a great week. Aaron Wise, Gary Woodland, David, and then even some of the cheap plays: Kurt Kitayama, Davis Riley, Cameron Champ, Alex Smalley, Nate Lashley. They all had plenty of love.
Patrick Rogers
played great.
He could have had a little bit better of a Sunday, but
it's Sunday, yeah. His Saturday though helped me out. And is Finau back?
Well, you questioned us last week, and we said we thought we'd be playable. The no laying up guys again. They had a long pod, and I listened to it earlier this week. They put it really well, because I think I said the same thing. Like this was a backdoor top two if you've ever seen one. He wasn't even on TV until he made a few birdies on the back nine on Sunday. Like he was not in this golf tournament. But hey, that's it. Can help you win some money, and that's all that matters.
He finally started making putts. I mean, he had good iron shots on Friday and just couldn't make a putt for his life. And then he can get hot. And just like a lot of guys in the PGA Tour, they can start dropping putts. So that is a good segue to Team No Putt this week after the break.
All right. Yeah, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Wells Fargo. Hey everyone, welcome back. We have our second half of the show, the Wells Fargo Championship preview. Before we jump in, we do have our listener league available every week on DraftKings. Please look out on our Twitter for a link to join. It's great competition. We talked about how much fun it was. The Mexico Open made Sunday super interesting. So please join that league, play for real money with our listeners. It's a ton of fun, and we have a great time getting to know everybody. All right, Wells Fargo Championship. TPC Potomac, Maryland. This tournament has bounced around a little bit between Quail Hollow and here at TPC Potomac. The President's Cup is at Quail Hollow this year, so I think they decided to move this back to the TPC course, which is fine, but you actually have like two completely different courses. Quail Hollow is a bomber's paradise. TPC Potomac is one of the hardest driving courses on the tour. And so it really changes your strategy for the Wells Fargo. So you can't just necessarily look at the history of performance at the Wells Fargo tournament. You have to look at specifically at the course that was being played, because they're very, very different. Also very different from what we saw last week in Mexico. So there could be some guys that played okay or not that great in Mexico that actually end up being a really good fit for Potomac. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So Kyle, what are you thinking? Where's the model sitting right now? Who's shaping up? Who's getting a lot of love this week from our experts?
Yeah, and before I launch into that, you had mentioned the previous. There has been other tour events at this course. The last one was the Quicken Loans, I believe in 2018. So if you are looking up your own data, just make sure that's what you're referencing. And as Mike mentioned, not the past events, which we're not at this course. All right, yeah, at the top of the model, we have Corey Connors coming in at 59% mention share and a really strong MPI at 100, perfect right now. So he's pretty high on the price point at 10,100. Stepping down a touch is Russell Henley at 9,300 and 40% mention share, 37 on the MPI. So there is some of our top contributors that are treading softly there. And then we have a couple of savings after that with Joel Dahman and Martin Laird, both at 36% mention share in the 7K range.
Yeah, Marty getting crushed in the power index. If Corey Connors on one end of the spectrum and Martin Laird on the other, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that our experts that haven't been performing as well this year, that a lot of them are on Martin Laird. Take that for what it is. He's got a lot of love.
Correct, and it's good. I'm glad you pointed that out too, Mike, because keep in mind there is some articles we look at weekly that are focused on value plays.
Perfect.
And they their performance is a little hit or miss because they're going on the values. So when you're looking at Party Marty at 7,100, there's a reason maybe his MPI is a little middling at that point.
Yeah, it's actually like if you look at our performance metrics overall, the players that are at the bottom of the power index actually don't actually have some reasonable statistics on the year for that quartile, let's say. So I think you're exactly right, Kyle. It's because those experts are hit or miss in their value plays. Here we have a lot of consensus among those on Martin Laird, and that could shape up to be something here at the end of the week.
So, something I feel like I've been trying to be better about as a personal DFS player is when you see somebody like Martin Laird at 7,100 at 40% mention share. Yes, is that someone you want equity in? For sure. But you do need to spread your risk there a little bit. He is, at the end of the day, only $7,100.
Right. Yep. Good point. So where are you starting your lineups this week?
So not to steal your thunder, Mike. So I'll highlight one on the stud range, but I completely support your other stud as well. But I'm playing Abraham Answer. I do like him as a lean in the GPP contest, maybe a little bit more than cash. He showed he was finally healthy last week. He has 31% mention share on our board. Pat Mayo is on him this week. It should be a great course fit. Small greens, Pinot Rough. There's a lot of water, trees. You just got to be accurate off the tee, as you said. And as I teased before, some in the industry are calling it a team no putt event. With the small greens, your chances of three putting are very low. So you're looking for guys maybe that can, struggle a little bit with the putter and hope they get hot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I should play this course.
Team no putt. I'm all in on that.
Man, I kick the simulator's ass every time I play it because it's a gimme after one putt.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's actually a perfect example of the team no putt concept right there. It's simulator golf, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Abraham Answer. I'll make a point on him. Yeah, he didn't play great last. I think last week people probably said there was a lot of pressure on him, right? Home country, best Mexican player in the field. And I think he underperformed, and I think there hopefully will be a bit of an ownership break this week, saying, well, he wasn't great last week, but this course is such a better course fit for his game. Vedanta was not, and so I'm hoping that's why I think GBP is the right place to put him, is because you can get a bit of an ownership break and hopefully get a really good course fit. So I love that play and back that. You said you didn't want to steal my thunder. The other half of the coin on the stud side was Corey Connors. We talked about him being at the top of the model. You're going to eat chalk with Corey Connors. You can do that like you did it with Rahm last week if you played Rahm in GPP and know that he's going to be high owned. Safer place to put him might be cash.
I'm all in on Connors. Chalk doesn't scare me there. I'll be overweight. I think a lot of the experts made the point this week, at least different than Rahm being at 30 to 40% ownership last week, is there's going to be a little bit more spread on the board. So even Connors, who seems to be a really chalky play, maybe he garners
not going to be that high,
23% ownership, and there's always a place to differentiate down the board. And I think it's good to know too that we've talked about those two. Some of the consensus plays and experts this week is, again, and I know we said this last week, but find your two plays at the top. And then there's a lot of very interesting guys in the 7K range, and just hammer that 7K range, maybe diversified, use the shotgun approach there a little bit. So Connors and Answer would fit very well into that.
Mm-hmm. So who else do you have?
So on that note, though, if you were looking to pivot at the top, I am very intrigued by Cameron Young. 31% this week. Mike Mcclure is on him as one of his 2 free plays he gives out, and he has been on fire over the last 5, 6, 10 events for us. And Fantasy Labs GPP plays is on him too, and they give a lot of variety of plays, so there's always a little bit of feast or famine there. But some of the metrics they highlight, he seems to, even though he's more known as a bomber, but he seems to be a decent course fit. And when he's popped lately, it's been at a large variety of courses. One of the comps I've heard mentioned here is not only the Valspar, but then we talked a lot about it for Valspar is Riviera, which obviously he played really well and contended.
Mm-hmm. Even Harbortown too, like being a ball strikers course. He played well there. He had that outstanding opening round. I didn't hear you mention Matt Fitzpatrick, 10,000 this week. Why are you you're not paying up for Matt Fitzpatrick, huh?
I'm not staying away. Is he going to be part of my core? No, but hey, that cascading core, he might be a pivot in there. Can't stay away. It's a great course for him. Just been burned lately, and I know some of our listeners have as well. So I can't say I'm planting my flag there, but I'll have a sprinkle.
He's almost in Kevin Na land from last week, right? Just priced higher than you want to take, right? And Na played well, right? And well enough. I think he was -6 for the week last week, made the cut, but I'm not paying 10 grand for Matthew Fitzpatrick in this.
I just think it's interesting. Yeah, we played him so much in the high 7,000s in similar fields, and all of a sudden he's 10K. I know he's had a good year, but again, not a guy. He hasn't really competed for wins.
He has all those top 15s to his name. It's a great course fit for him. He is top 5 in strokes gained, tee to green, and it's just, hey, can he get hot putting? His 2 missed cuts that burned a ton of people, us included. Yeah. He had very bad putting weeks. So if you are going all in on Team No Putt.
Team No Putt. All right, I'm dropping Corey Connors and putting Matthew Fitzpatrick in. You got me, Kyle.
Well, yeah. I think would he miss the cut at the Masters? What was the missed cut? The other missed cut besides the Players?
Players and Valspar, I think.
Valspar, I believe, was his worst putting week of his career. I think is how bad it was. So it's a good take, Kyle. How about Jordan? Why don't you give us a couple of names that have your eye? I know Kyle, you got a few more, but Jordan, I know you always got a few that.
I got nothing stupid this week, guys. I took this seriously. I planned out my lineup 5 minutes ago. We are good to go. But just like last week, I'm going in that upper 7s, low $8,000 range, and I made my lineup off the sheet, and I've got 5 guys between 7,600 and 8,600. So I'm going, and I'm riding some people that I've seen playing well lately. Aaron Rye, the double glover, been playing well, as well as Sepp Straka. Right, 2 guys.
I do like Sepp this week. I like that call.
The model likes both of them. Aaron Rye is more of a form than he's decent in the model, but he's been playing.
Yeah, he's been playing great.
And then I've got Max Homa. It's my next one. I've been off him for quite a while. I haven't bet him. He's 27% mention share this week. He's stuck out to me. I want to play. There's no logic behind it. It's not it's a course fit. It's I haven't played Max Homa in probably 6 months. So I'm getting back on the Homa wagon.
I thought maybe I'd hear you call out Brian Harmon's name.
He was on my team, and then I cut him off. Okay. I had him. He was in the lineup, and then I decided I pivoted. I didn't like who that left me with money wise, so then I switched to Homa, and then it left, I think, my last one. I did Cameron Young. Kyle, you convinced me on Cameron Young there. So you guys have now heard my RTG lineup for the week. Other than, I guess I haven't told you 2 players. So those 4 will be in my lineup for the week.
So I'm glad you brought up Brian Hartman. So he is part of that group that is currently at 31% mention share for us. We've hit on the rest of the guys, so figured we'd mention that. Abraham Answer, Cameron Young, and our boy Matt Fitzpatrick.
I like Brian Hartman this week. I was looking for, again, with such a premium on driving accuracy, he's going to keep the ball in play. You don't need a ton of distance. I like both him and Joel Dahman. We've talked about these guys being near the top of the model. So I think how, like you said, there's plenty of options of guys with good course fits in the low 7,000s, and it's really just a matter of picking the right studs for the week.
So, Mike, are you telling me to drop Sepp Straka and take Brian Hartman?
No, I think Sepp's a great play too. I think you got a lot of options.
There's a lot. That the mid 7 to mid 8 range is juicy this week.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Either of you guys want to call out?
So I didn't give out my third yet. Also looking at Kevin Strowman at 7,700. Fun fact there, he has the course record here from 2018. Must have been a little bit of something in the water that year, because that's also when at the Quicken Loans that Molinari went off and won with a 21 under by 8 strokes.
Right.
Where, looking at this year, 10 to 12, maybe 13 or 14 is probably going to win this. So, he absolutely went off that year, and maybe the course played a little easier, but he's 27% mention share for us at this point, and Reed Fowler is on him, who has been pretty strong for us lately.
Kyle, I really thought you were going to go with our best $6,900 play this week.
Help me out. Oh, yeah.
Tyler Duncan? You're not? I thought you'd be all in on Tyler Duncan again this week.
I'm not going to ignore it.
He's still getting love. He's got almost 20.
Pat Mayo's, while you brought him up, Pat Mayo's values play article in DraftKings Nation, he's on him.
Interesting.
Is he going to be a part of the core? No. Is he going to be a pivot? Yeah.
The one guy we haven't talked about here is David Skins. Is he playing, or did he get traded?
That's a good transition, Jordan, because I didn't do my homework, so I'm going to have to save this for next week. But you're onto something. You pick out a name, you roast the guy, he shows up and plays well. Aaron Rye, you made fun of him for his gloves. Richard Bland, David Skins. I mean, I thought maybe you'd be talking about David Lipsky, who's been playing great this year. But yeah, you've really picked out a few guys that have just suddenly popped to the top. So I need to do a little bit of homework and figure out statistically how good that approach really is.
So I thought about David Lipsky, but I didn't want to make fun of one of our listeners' uncles. Buchholz's wife is a Lipsky. Do you know that?
Well, on the name note, okay, I'm gonna try to
go for it.
Maybe
Kyle.
This is better for you to attempt, Mike.
I will, but I was gonna bring this guy up anyways because of the one mention that he got. I don't know if you went back and looked this up. So Eugeno Chakara is
way better than I would have.
He is the 4th ranked amateur in the world, and he is mentioned this week by Jason Sobel as Jason Sobel's DFS dog of the week. And I don't know. He basically just said, this guy's going to be good someday. There's a couple of amateurs in the field. Why not see if this guy can make the cut? He's made 1 of 3 cuts on the PGA Tour.
Kyle, where's he from?
$6,000. I'm going to say Honduras.
Yeah, I took Patrick Flavin last week on Sobel's DFS dog advice after Sobel was started to turn things around, and that came back to bite me. So I don't know if I can back Sobel on Chakara this week, but hey, if he makes the cut, I'll certainly be cheering for him.
So he's Spanish.
He plays for Oklahoma State. Yeah. So if he makes the cut this week, keep an eye if he somehow qualifies.
Okay. All right. Let's hit on tiers really quick, and then we'll wrap things up.
Also, he was born in the year 2000.
Oh my God.
I went down the research board there for a second. So, tier 3 is what we're going to highlight this week. And I say that because I think there is a little bit of a difficult decision there. You have some of the guys we've talked about. You have Max Homa coming in at 27% mention share, Gary Woodland, Paul Casey, Sergio Garcia, and Terrell Hatton. And I can really make a pretty good case for all those guys. But where I'm leaning right now is Gary Woodland. First off, he's 9,100 in a classic contest. So relative to the others in that third tier, you're getting pretty good bang for your buck. He is a 22% mention share, so some of our folks are on him. And I think a lot of people were on him last week, and he didn't have a bad week, but relative to the other high-priced guys, he didn't perform as well as a Finau, Rahm, and obviously. So I think people might got a little burnt. And even though he's known as a big hitter, he does have pretty good accuracy when he clubs down and takes irons or 3-woods off the and hits them for a drive. So I think he could be a little bit of a stinky play this week.
Yeah, that's a good call. He is long, but I think that's how he ended up getting his win at Pebble, was he was able just to really get things in play on those tight fairways there. So I like that take. Am I seeing this correctly that Terrell Hatton is 9,900 in that tier? Interesting that he falls down to tier 3, yet being a high 9K player. But I've heard early takes in support of Terrell, but I guess our experts that kind of came in today, we didn't really see a lot of the love there. So we'll have to see what happens the rest of the way until Thursday.
I think I've heard of him mentioned as kind of a GPP pivot type play. Because of that price point and his volatility, he might scare some people away. But he definitely has, pretty good win equity. So if you're looking for someone to, go off of from some of the 10K guys we've mentioned, it's probably a decent place to start.
All right. Anything else either on the Wells Fargo or just in general you guys want to chat about before we wrap?
You've really got me confused now, Kyle, because I had Hartman and Woodland and I swapped them out for Homa and Young. And now I'm back. Back on Woodland, but then am I back in Hartman? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where to go, Kyle.
Sleep on it.
Sleep on it. Woodland and Tiers maybe, and you leave the other guys for Classic.
I'll leave RTG with Homa and Young so I can take more of your guys' money.
Yes, that is available.
I won't be able to on the course.
Yeah.
Well, that's not because of your hand.
I don't know, Mike. I get quite a few strokes playing against you now.
I didn't talk about this at the beginning. I'm going to hit on it right now. On the Golf Digest podcast this week, on their local knowledge podcast, they were talking about the thing that makes junior golfers take the next, basically what separates like the junior golfers and the college players that make it to the PGA Tour and the ones that don't. And the host was really zeroing in on this idea that it's the players that have this mastery mindset, the ones that are never really satisfied, that are always looking for a way to get better, even if their results are good. And so you make fun of me for like all of a sudden like up and wanting to just like have a new golf swing at the point that I am at in my career. But it's like, that's kind of how I think about it, is that I just want to find ways to get better, even if what I'm doing is totally serviceable and has had good results. There's always an itch to just have something that I'm working on. So my point is, I'm really fascinated by that. Just first of all, it doesn't have to be as extreme as Tiger Woods. But I also know that it is, you're going to continue to make fun of me as I continue to play really bad rounds of golf as I go through this process. I probably will relinquish a few bucks to you over the next couple of years.
Well, your old swing won you those 2 trophies behind you. And
I know. And my new ones, there's not going to be a room big enough to fill all the trophies I won with my new golf swing.
And this is why our golf games are different, because my mastery is in how much can I drink and still play good, and yours is how good can I actually play. Right? I mean, I'm drinking high noons at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, thinking about drinking more on the golf course in a month when I can get back on it.
You know what's great? This game, these interests converge in the same spot, and they put us on the tee box together, and we can both do our thing and have fun. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, just like you warm up for 45 minutes, I put my shoes on and go to the first tee. I did that Friday morning. First shot of the year, no warm-ups, took one practice swing, striped it right down the middle. I was like, who needs practice?
Like today when I pulled up to the course 4 minutes before teed off.
That's my type of golf right there, Kyle. And you still got a six-pack on the way to the tee box.
Well, the group I played with today, there was no drinking involved.
Well, when you're
straight shooters.
You played with an 80-plus-year-old, right?
83.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. I'm excited to get a piece of the Wells Fargo this week. We'll see what happens. I'm super excited about the PGA Championship in a few more weeks. But yes, we will be back in a week with the Wells Fargo results and preview the Byron Nelson